Hey everybody, Michael here from Avesi. We've got a rainy weekend on our hands here, so I've got some time in my office and I wanted to go over one of the custom drainage projects that I've been working on for a customer of mine. It was a really wet backyard, and the customer was telling me that after it rains the water's not soaking into the ground. So of course that's going to be my objective there, is to find ways to get water in the ground, and then whatever we can't get in the ground, if it's still raining, we've got to find a way to put that water in a safe spot. So that's kind of the gist of how I went about approaching it. And I just want to add a little disclaimer here saying that this is by no means the only way to solve this particular problem. I'm a huge believer in there being multiple ways to solve the same problem. So this is really just the way that I came up with, using the methods that I use and using the priorities that I kind of approach each project with. So let's check it out. All right, so this is what we're looking at in the backyard here. You can see that there are three numbers, and those numbers are meant to indicate the different points of view that I have for you in three different photos. And the blue lines represent the amount of moisture. The darker the line, the more heavy the ponding, and the lighter blue and the blue dots are kind of just where some residual moisture is. So this is a basic example of how I indicate moisture on my base kind of initial sketches. So as we look at view number one, this is right as we enter the backyard. You can already see at the back part of the property by the retaining wall a good amount of ponding there. And our second view is the same spot, but from a different point of view. So now we're on the other side of the backyard, but that's still the same tree. It's still the same ponding at the back there, and also some more ponding in front of the tree. So the whole area is quite wet. And here, view number three is looking from roughly the same area as view number two, but just focused down kind of at the lip of the deck. There's a little bit more ponding here, and this is where the eventual sump pit is going to go. So here's the plan that I came up with. You can see on the right side, the moisture has kind of been concentrated in that rain garden there. And just to the left of the tree is a little bit of a berm, because so much of the water was coming from the neighbor's side that it was just allowed to spill across the entire landscape, because the grass is really not absorbing any of that water. The homeowner actually revealed to me on our second visit that before the grass went in, the soil that he put it on was really baked and compact and dry and didn't really have any life in it. So you put grass on top of that, and you're not making that any better, because grass does not transmit air, water, and nutrients down into the soil. It keeps everything very much at the surface. So grass is a big time limiting factor with this landscape. And in my opinion, the reason that all this ponding is happening is because the soil does not have any sort of sponge-like properties. It is just more of like a frying pan, right? It's not looking to absorb anything. So what the rain garden does is it creates a designated low spot for the water to concentrate. And once we get it mulched and planted, now we begin to invite more water to infiltrate into the soil. And over time, the idea is that as the plants grow and as the soil improves, you're going to be able to absorb more and more water. So as we can see with this graphic here, making the rain garden is the change catalyst that starts that entire process. So while in the long term, the goal is to have the landscape absorb all of the water, in the short term, that may not be possible. So we're going to have to put in some sort of extra safety measures just to make sure that if the system is full and it's still raining, that we have somewhere for the water to go. So what I had planned was to put a catch basin at the lowest spot of the rain garden that drains to a prefabricated sump pit with a sump pump in it to pump that water to the front of the house. So here's a final look at that plan now that you've got a better idea of what the pre-existing conditions were and the suggestions that I had for improving the functionality, look and feel of this landscape. So there it is. And like I said, definitely not the only way to go about solving that problem, but that's the way that I came up with, using my methods and with the priorities in mind that I approach every job with. And those are, of course, to get water in the ground, to improve the health of the soil, and to use the soil to grow more plants, get more biodiversity, more biomass, just improve the overall look, feel, and function of the landscapes that I work with. If there's anything you think that I overlooked or anything that you guys would have done differently, feel free to let me know. Thanks, guys.